Hello again, everyone. I love retro gaming, but this is a Linux YouTube channel, so I don't get the opportunity to talk about retro gaming all that often, but anytime I get the opportunity, I'm definitely going to utilize that. And in the past, I've shown you guys how to create little gaming consoles using RetroPie, a very popular Linux distribution that's specifically for the purposes of running retro games. And I've shown you guys how to build these. I've even shown you guys how to use something like an Intel NUC to create a higher powered device that can run something like Dreamcast. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to create a portable version, because I have right here the G case. It's a GPI case from RetroFlag that looks like a Game Boy. And this is what we're going to be building. I'm going to show you guys how to build a portable RetroPie gaming system using this case and this Raspberry Pi Zero right here. Now, given that this is a Raspberry Pi Zero, we need to adjust our expectations accordingly, because it's not as powerful as a Raspberry Pi 3, especially not a Raspberry Pi 4. So running something like Dreamcast or Nintendo 64, probably not going to happen unless you make some sacrifices. But running 16-bit games, that shouldn't be a problem. So adjust your expectations accordingly and you should enjoy this. Now, 16-bit gaming is great, 8-bit gaming is great. There's a lot of systems that'll run on this, so it's still going to be like a really awesome device to build. And I'm going to unbox this right now, and then I'm going to show you guys how to put it together. Now, you're going to need an SD card, and you can use Etcher to flash the RetroPie image to the SD card. I do have a video that shows you guys how to do that on Linux. You can check that video out if you don't already know how to do that. If you're not running Linux on the device, basically all you have to do is use Etcher. I'll have a link in the description below to download that utility that will allow you to download RetroPie, which I'll also have a link for. And using Etcher, you can flash that image to the SD card, which you can then insert into the Raspberry Pi Zero. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and unbox this, and then we're going to build it and check it out. I can't wait. Let's get started. Okay, so first of all, we have the Raspberry Pi Zero W right here. And W means wireless, as it says right here on the label, if that comes up in the video. Now, wireless is not required, but I wanted to have wireless because I plan on using SyncThing, which is not specific to this project at all. SyncThing is a application you can run on basically any operating system to sync files from one computer or device to another. I'm going to install SyncThing on mine. I'm not going to show it on this video. It's beyond the scope of this video. However, if you want to do anything with wireless, you probably should get the wireless version. I see no reason not to do that because it makes it easier to add games to your RetroPie. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And here it is. And as you can see, it's substantially smaller than the normal Raspberry Pi. Again, this is the Raspberry Pi Zero W, and this is the version that you want to use if you are building one of these portable systems. So I'll show the process of installing this in just a moment. So here we have the GPI case. Now this is going to be the majority of everything we're doing here, because the Raspberry Pi just provides the main board basically and allows us to run the operating system, but the controller, the screen, and everything else is all inside this case. So let's go ahead and open it. All right, let's see here. What do we get? So we get a screwdriver right here. And honestly, in the past, the RetroFlag screwdrivers have been completely terrible. So, I'm not sure if that's the case anymore, but just be cautious, because I've had this screwdriver that they've attached with other devices that they sell actually strip the screws. Not sure if that's the case. We'll find out, but just want to give you that disclaimer. If you have a standalone screwdriver, you might want to just use that. So what else do we get here? We have a USB cable. And it looks like this is going to provide power to the device. It's just standard USB. No surprises there. Inside the box as well, we have, and this looks like the main unit itself. That in just a moment, but we have this instruction manual right here that should allow us to basically see how to put that together. So you may or may not need this, but I'll show you the process. And there's nothing else in the box here, so that's all empty. And then again here we have the actual unit itself. It comes in this little awesome looking bag here, which is pretty cool. So we could basically put our device in this to make sure that the screen doesn't get scratched or anything like that. So let's go ahead and open it up. There's drawstrings here. And would you look at this? How awesome is this? Try to get it in frame better here. Sorry about this, guys. But basically we have the GPI case right here that's going to allow us to create our portable gaming system. This is going to be awesome. Now in the back, we have what looks like a cartridge. I mean, it almost looks like an actual Game Boy with a cartridge inserted. And it actually is a cartridge though. So if I pull this out, and I'll put this up here to the camera, hopefully it's focusing again. I apologize if it isn't. But this is a cartridge, actually. And inside here, we're going to install the Raspberry Pi itself. And this is pretty cool because you could have maybe multiple Raspberry Pis with different SD cards. I mean, this sounds like a waste of Raspberry Pi to me, but you could do that by having multiple cartridges, but it makes it easy to install. So I'll show that in just a moment. And then here we have the unit. You can see the cartridge slot there. And then on the back, we'll go ahead and open the battery compartment. And yes, it does use batteries, but you can also use the adapter to power this as well. Batteries aren't a requirement, but if you are traveling or something like that, you probably do want to utilize the batteries. All right, so let's get started. All right, so first of all, we have the cartridge right here. This is what we're going to be using for the SD card and also the Raspberry Pi itself. So I'll go ahead and open this up. So basically what you do is the cartridge actually snaps open, and it's kind of like a, it's tight. So I had to put a little bit of force in this. You know, don't be too crazy, don't want to break it, but it is a very tight fit, at least it was on mine. And then we take this out. We have this little board right here, which we're going to use to attach the Raspberry Pi itself. And I'll show you the process. So here's the actual board. This is what was inside the cartridge. And then what I'm going to do is take the Raspberry Pi right here. Notice the pins on the bottom. They need to align with the pins that are right here. So I'm basically just going to put it over this, like so. And then at the top, you can see that we have this little cover thing. Let's see if I can get that in the camera properly here. And this needs to go into the USB port right here. Make sure that's nice and snug. And then basically just sandwich together like this. Kind of see the pins line up. And we can see that everything is connected and we're ready to go. We're going to put this in the cartridge. I'm just going to lay this down in here. You want to make sure that the pins are aligned. Check the screw holes and everything. Just make sure everything is lined up perfectly. And then we're going to get this top piece right here, or bottom piece, or whatever piece this is, and we're going to put this inside. It should snap right in. And make sure not to force it too hard. If everything is not lined up properly, it is not going to snap together. Just be very careful. I'm going to open up this bag right here that's got the screws and the screwdriver. So here we have the screwdriver itself. And then in the baggie, we have 4 little screws here. So I'm just going to dump these out. And I'm going to go ahead and screw this together. And now everything is assembled. And everything should line up. The plastic shouldn't have any separation. Everything should fit nice and snug. And I'm going to go ahead and put the SD card in. I have a 128 gigabyte SD card, which is actually overkill for this, but it's what I have available. Most of the games are very small, so a lot of the space will go unused, but that's okay because you know what? I have almost unlimited space, I guess. So go ahead and insert this. You can see it's now inserted. And then there's a little cover right here. I'm just going to put that back on. It came off. I don't think it was actually supposed to. Okay, so we had this little piece right here that fell off when I separated the case. But just make sure this is in there. And I'm going to go ahead and close it. It just basically secures the SD card. And there it is. So now the SD card is hidden. We don't have to worry about it falling out or getting lost or anything like that. So before we power this unit on, I'm on my laptop here and I am going to show you how to install a required patch to make this work. Now I've already downloaded it. It's this file right here. There's a link to the download for this file in the description below. But we need to apply this patch in order to ensure that it starts up properly. So I'm going to unzip this. Go ahead and clear the screen. And what I'm going to want to do is CD to where the SD card is mounted, which depending on your distro is probably going to be something like /media/username and then boot. If I list the storage here, you can see that I have an overlays directory right here. So what I'm going to do is look at the storage inside overlays and scroll up. Quite a few files here. Notice the DPI24 file right here. We want to make a backup copy of that file, just in case. Probably won't need it. So I'll go into the overlays directory. Then I'll copy. And there's the file name. I'm going to copy to something like .bak just to have a copy of that file. And then what I'm going to do is copy in my downloads directory. I do have the gpie case patch directory. Inside there, another gpie case patch directory. I'm going to copy patch files, overlays, DPI24, and I'm going to copy that to the current directory. I'm in the overlays directory on the SD card, and I'm replacing the current one with the one for my downloads directory. So I'll press enter. You may or may not get a prompt to confirm. I'll say yes. And there we go. We also want to copy another file as well. So I'll do copy, downloads. Again, pretty much the same path for the most part. And we have another file here that we want to copy to that same location. Again, I'm in the overlays directory. So I'm just going to put a period because I want to copy it in the directory that I'm currently at, which again is on the SD card. So I'll press enter here. And we didn't need to make a backup of anything because that file didn't actually exist until now. I'll clear the screen. And I'll go back to the boot directory here. Now notice I also have here a config.txt file in the boot directory. I'm going to back that up similarly here. Now I have a copy of that file. And then right in this boot directory, I'm going to copy the replacement for that file. again from downloads and then that same path. And there we have the config.txt from the file that we extracted. We're going to replace config.txt on the SD card. Going to overwrite it. I did make a backup of it, and that should be good to go. Now, while we're here, there's a couple of things that we may want to do. And this is completely optional, but highly recommended. We're going to use the touch command to create a file called SSH. The touch command will create a file if it doesn't exist. If it does exist, it just updates the modification time, but this SSH file does not exist yet, so I'll press enter. And if I list the storage, you can see that I have now an SSH file. There's nothing in it. Its size is 0. But this file being present means that it will enable SSH when it boots up. This is just one more method of adding ROMs or communicating with your Pi 0. Obviously, if you don't have the wireless version, this is completely pointless. But this is one way that you can interact with your RetroPie console over the network. That being said, if you haven't already created your wireless configuration yet, we may as well do that now because we do have the SD card inserted in the computer and it is easy to enable. So to get Wi-Fi working in the first place, what we have to do is edit a file that doesn't exist yet. It does in my case though. It's this one here at the bottom, wpa-supplicant.conf. I created that file. It wasn't there before. But basically to create that file, again, we want to be in the boot directory on the SD card. We can use Nano or whatever text editor we would like. And that's the file name we want to create. Again, it will not be present, so you'll need to type that out and then press enter. So basically what you are going to want to do is add this configuration right here to that text file. If you would like to copy and paste it, check out the link in the description below where I will have this code. In quotes here, I have my SSID. Basically what you will do is just change it to whatever your SSID actually is. Just type it right there in the quotes. And then here for the PSK, we just go ahead and put in whatever your wireless password is right here. And then we will do Control O and then enter to save the file, then Control X to exit out. And now we want to make sure we are not in any directory on the SD card anymore. So to make sure everything is unmounted, I will do sudo umount /media, my username, boot. I'll do the same thing. I need to also unmount the other partition, which is just called RetroPie. And now I can remove the SD card, and if I put it in the unit, it should boot and connect to the wireless. Now, moment of truth, it's time to power this thing on and see if it works. It's resizing the root file system. That is normal. We're going to let that finish. And it will reboot on its own. You see, Emulation Station is loading. And now we can configure RetroPie. Basically what we do is just press all the buttons it asks us to press. And the L and R buttons are on the back of the unit. You just go through this little wizard here. And then if it's asking you to press a button that doesn't exist, for example, analog or L2, R2, something like that, just hold any button to skip that particular one. And then when it asks you at the end for a hotkey, just press select. But actually, we don't have any ROMs or games on here yet. So what I'm going to do is basically take care of that right now. So back here on my laptop, I want to show you how to add games to this. And also, I'm going to show you how to enable the safe shutdown feature as well. So what I'm going to do right now is SSH space and then pi at. And then I need to know the IP address of the unit itself. Now it'll show this right on your router access point, whatever you have. If you look at the list of DHCP address assignments, you will see the IP address that's associated with your RetroPie. So I'm going to type mine in right now. And again, the username is Pi. I'll press enter. I'll say yes. Type in the password, which is raspberry. And now I have a Linux shell prompt into the actual handheld system via Wi-Fi. I connected via SSH. Clear the screen. Now, if I list the storage here, the directory I am in is /home/pi. I have a RetroPie folder right there. I'm going to go into that folder. Go into the ROMs directory. If I list the storage, we have a folder for every type of system that is supported by default. I'm going to add some ROMs to the megadrive folder. Now the Genesis folder is a link to the megadrive folder, so regardless of which one of these two folders you add Sega Genesis games to, they are going to be added to the megadrive folder. So that's what I'm going to use as an example. So I'll go into the megadrive folder. If I list the storage, there's nothing in there currently. So I'm going to open a different shell prompt, and I am going to copy files to that directory via SCP. So I will open up a new terminal. Also make the font size larger here. Now I have some Genesis ROMs already saved on this. I have quite a few. I'm just going to copy a few of them right now. So basically what I'll do is SCP, just the file name, in this case, Sonic. I want to copy all the Sonic games. And what I want to copy to is user pi at, same IP address as before, colon, RetroPie, ROMs, and then Genesis or Megadrive, either one. I'll press enter. I'll say yes. If that comes up again, I'll type in the password. Again, it's raspberry. Press enter. And you can see that it is copying some Sonic games over to that folder right now. Okay, we should be good to go on that. And I'll go ahead and close this terminal. And again, I am here on the RetroPie itself. I'll go back to the home directory, cd, and then tilde. And now we can enable the safe shutdown script. And the command we want to run is this one right here. I'll have some documentation in the description below if you need this or if anything changes. But basically, this is what we want to run. Now, always be careful when you are redirecting something to bash, especially if it's a command that references anything that's online. Now, I've already checked out this script, so I know that it's safe to run. So I'll press enter. And it should happen pretty quick. And what should happen actually is the unit should restart. As you can see, it will reboot. And there is a button on the back of the unit, basically where the batteries go, that you need to toggle in order to enable safe shutdown. The combination of enabling that via the toggle switch and also installing this script will allow you to safely shut down the unit by simply pressing the power button without having to manually shut it down like you would a PC. Now that we have rebooted the unit after installing the Sega games, the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive menu should be on the screen now. You do have to at least restart Emulation Station each time you add ROMs. And since we restarted the unit anyway after installing the script, then that was already taken care of. And now I will show you some gameplay. So there you go. That was awesome. So I'm going to play with this device. I can't wait. I'm going to install more games on it and basically see how good this unit actually is. The main point of this video was showing you guys how to build it, and I've done that. And, I'm going to have some fun. I need to clean my desk because, I did an unboxing, so I have quite a mess here. And then if there's any other changes or customizations or thoughts that I have on this device, I will let you guys know in a future video. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I have some awesome videos coming. I will see you soon. Thanks for checking out my video. I really appreciate it. If you found it useful, click that like button. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe so you'll see the latest content as soon as it becomes available. If you want to help me out, there's links down below for my Patreon page, as well as links for purchasing my Linux books, and also my affiliate store, which has a listing of Linux compatible hardware that I've actually tested personally. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.